History of the Heartland is visiting with Marie Rademacher, who's the area director for Catholic Charities in Decatur. And we're going to talk a little bit about the evolution of Catholic Charities here in the community. The presence really goes back to May of 1944, which is before you were here, Marie. But nonetheless, it's been a very long track record in the community. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, how the needs or the services which you offer changed from like the early days when you were involved in the 1950s to then when you returned as the area director in the 1980s?
Yes, I noticed many changes as community needs surfaced and the population aged. That made a big determination on what kind of programs were the most needy in this community.
Yeah.
We have added, new programs were added, and staffing, of course, increased. Advisory board membership was enlarged. We began using volunteer help. That was a biggie. We had more than one work site. We had old policies firmed up and new policies developed. We had better security. We had an updated phone system, updated equipment, as you well know, with the computers. Of course, that's really recent for us. And then new sources of funding that we had to seek out.
Yeah.
So with all of that, I will say that what determined what we offered was based on a survey need of the community, and if a need was indicated, then we had to take a look at. Sometimes we were approached directly. Hey, we've got this going on. Catholic Charities could do this. We know you could do it. You've proven yourself in the community. Well, it might sound easy, but it wasn't always that easy.
Right.
And sometimes a need developed, and we would take a look at that. Hey, that's something maybe we could do, So we would have to think about that as far as getting a source of funding. Was that going to be available? The education demand behind that type of work for the person doing that job. Location, did you have room? All those things were happening.
Yeah.
And as they happened, we tried to make it work.
Yeah.
For instance, where we are now, we're using every nook and cranny in the building that we can, And with confidentiality being a very important issue, you have to see that you have private rooms for some of your services because we value that foremost, that anybody that comes here where it is demanding a confidentiality issue, we give that, we offer that, So those were some of the things. I will say that while I worked here, I did go to night school at the University of Illinois in Springfield to get a master's in counseling. So I got the Human Development Counseling degree in 1994, I think it was. Because there was a need for counseling. There were families and children in need of being able to live together as a good family, and children and parents were having issues. Those things needed to be resolved as best as they could. Marriages were in trouble. There were a lot of things related to counseling. So I wanted to get that counseling degree because my classes were very old at St. Louis University. They went clear back to the 50s.
Right.
And so then I started the counseling program here.
Okay.
And in those days, the early part of those days, we didn't have to have the certification. As long as you had a degree in counseling, you could do the program. So I did that, and in the beginning, I was the one that worked the program. Later, as we grew, I was more in the management piece of it, with therapists being hired on.
I see.
And as well, there was a need with our population aging, seniors, many seniors needed a lot of help in remaining independent in their homes or a need for guardianship if they could not take care of themselves appropriately or were a danger to themselves or others. So we developed a guardianship program.
I see.
So we started out helping out with DMH, had social workers that were dabbling in guardianship and asked us to join with them. Well, eventually we took them on as our program here, as it turned out. The same thing we did with years earlier, the family service agency that I had worked for before I came to Catholic Charities was going to be dissolved, and we took their programs on, we took their staff on, and we took some of their board members on. So they merged with us, but it was more than a merger. They became Catholic Charities.
Right.
Family Service was no longer. They were a wonderful agency when they were in existence, however.
Yeah.
But so we started counseling, we started guardianship, and I was very proud of being able to develop those programs because they were very, very good quality programs. Guardianship is something we're still very much immersed in. We have a program that works with seniors to keep them as independent as possible. We have a program that helps seniors with keeping their bodies healthy and their bodies limber, their exercise programs. We do have guardianship. We have anywhere from 50 to 70 people that we're the guardian of at any given time. So those programs have proven themselves well. Counseling we did for many, 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 many years. More recently, the need has lessened for Catholic Charities, and the funding has decreased. So we no longer have counseling with families per se, but we do provide counseling to students in our schools, in our Catholic schools.
Okay.
We were asked by the Macon County Mental Health Board to do that because the public schools had counselors in their schools. We did not have them in our 4 Catholic schools. So they asked us if they could provide us with a purchase of service contract, would we be interested in doing that? Well, we jumped on that right away. So we're in our 4 Catholic schools providing counseling services.
Okay. That's
We are
fantastic.
doing that.
So,
I kind of got off on the
no, that's wonderful. So really the scale and the range of services expanded pretty dramatically
Right.
as the needs of the community changed
Right.
Over that period. Would you like to share with us some statistics, just to kind of another illustration of what all you do
Well,
for the
of course,
community?
I'd love to. We currently have 15 programs, and they're varying sizes. And several of our programs are assisted by hundreds of volunteers. And so I'm going to kind of summarize what we accomplished in this past fiscal year 2009. Fiscal year, I get these fiscal years mixed up. Fiscal year 2019, which began in July of 18 and ended this past June.
Right.
So I'm going to give you kind of a 12-month
Sure.
look-see at this. Relative to our food distribution, we have a local food pantry, and it's open 2 hours daily, 5 days a week. And we have a mobile food pantry covering many of our rural area populations that can't get into a food pantry and don't have a close, even store nearby where they can go. And we also have Meals on Wheels. So between our local food pantry and our rural, I'm getting tongue-tied here, our rural food pantry, we serve 13,315 repeating households.
Wow.
From those 2 sources. Emergency food is provided on a monthly basis, and it lasts about 2 weeks.
Okay.
That's about the best we can do. As well, 94,685 meals were delivered from Meals on Wheels program to seniors by volunteers. They put many hours into delivering those meals. We have 5 other programs that service seniors only. And 613 seniors received a variety of services with assistance in maintaining their independence, guardianship services, bringing better strength and balance to their bodies, and assistance with senior health insurance planning. And the volunteers in those 5 programs devoted 6,202 hours of service.
Wow.
That's besides what the staff did. Wow. So we're really
that's
working
amazing.
a lot with seniors. For assistance with medication needs, 19 clients received assistance with 51 non-generic scripts, but the value of those scripts was $66,002.
Wow.
So each person got a lot of medication.
Yeah.
As well, 37 clients received dental assistance, and that was at a cost of $6,939. And 52 legal contacts were made to assist clients with a lot of civil issues.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Am I telling you too much?
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay. And free clothing was granted to 1,998 repeating clients.
Wow.
Now, next year, we're going to be working again in our Catholic schools. We're working in our 4 Catholic schools. And as I said before, we were asked to do this by the Macon County Mental Health Board, and we jumped on that right away. So you can see we touch many lives on a daily basis, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I always like to say that our work is bittersweet, because clients come to us angry and bitter and frustrated and sad, and we try to do the best we can. We really do. And we feel honored to be able to serve these clients. We really do. And I think we give them a feeling that somebody cares. Even if we can't do everything that they hope to get from a request they make, they know that someone is trying and somebody cares.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it with our... I could go into hours and hours of telling you numbers, but...
That gives us a good sense for the scale of your your operations, your impact. What do you personally find the most fulfilling about your job, and what you get to see?
Well, the most fulfilling to me is bringing our mission to life. It's really showing that we know that we're making a difference, that we're really making a difference in the lives of so many people who come to us requesting assistance in so many ways. That's the most fulfilling.
Okay.
I don't worry about what we can't do. I just hope to keep what we are doing going. And if a need arises out there, we'll jump on it and see, can we do it? If so, we'll try our best.
You decided to stay in Decatur and continue to serve the community. What were some of the what was some of your rationale or things that influenced that?
Well, as I previously told you, I came to Decatur in 1949 to attend my 4 years of college here, and I came back to Decatur with my job with Catholic Charities in 1952, and I've continued living here ever since. My family, my work, my parish, and my friends have been steadfast throughout all these years. That's been my life. They are my life, and the majority of it happened right here in Decatur.
Yeah.
As well, the agency, this is an agency that I'm very proud of, and the privilege of being allowed to serve, plus getting paid for it, and the generosity of and the caring and kindness of people in this community. Why would I want to leave Decatur?
Yeah, no. Makes
I would
sense.
not want to. I'm going to someday put my head down on my desk and say, that's it, folks.
Now, you came into this job and your people that you knew had had a vision of your potential to do this job.
I think so.
And selected you for it. But when you first came into the job, I mean, there really wasn't a training program, was there?
No,
you just
there
kind
was
of
not.
had to figure it out. What were some of the things that you had to learn, and what was the process that you had to go through to really teach yourself the ropes?
Well, a lot of it was just doing what was asked to do or what needed to be done, and praying to God that you were doing it well and doing it right. Always putting the client first, I think, and listening to them and understanding their frustration and trying to put yourself in their shoes to see where they were going. Now, beyond that, in order to do that, you had to have a building around you, you had to have money to do it with, you had to have reliable staff to work the programs. So I learned as programs grow, I needed to do all of this. Well, you know, how does someone train you to ask for money? Of course, there's all these programs out there now that say, we have the best way to show you how to ask someone for money. You know, well, I didn't have that.
Right.
I just had to tell them what we were facing, try to reach their hearts with compassion and what was needed, and their generosity was the answer.
Yeah.
That was the answer. As far as training, I knew from the get-go that I was never going to be a micromanager. I might have done that with my children, but I wasn't going to do it with staff.
Yeah.
And I felt that they work hard, and I don't want to take credit for what they do. So if they do something, I want them to be noticed in the newspaper. I want them to be interviewed on television. I want them to be up there making a speech to a group. I will do it because that's my job to tell about Catholic Charities. But I value my supervisors and I value the staff and the work they do, and I believe thoroughly that they should be acknowledged for that. And every day we find some way to thank people, to thank them. I always say, you can be a small program, you can be a big program, you both matter the same. You're doing work that's necessary to do. So I don't begrudge that I was kind of thrown in. I didn't know I was going to have to make so many public speeches and things like that. But I did take a speech course at Millikan. I nearly died getting through that course, but I got through it, and I'm not a great public speaker, but I can get up there and find the facts that need to be told and get them out there, you know.
Yeah, so it served you well, your education.
Yeah.
What do you think, how did you described a little bit in this question your leadership style in terms of letting others get recognition, in terms of taking the time to thank others. What were some of the influences that developed that leadership style so that when you came into this role, you had an approach?
Well, I think I grew up always giving credit to the other person if they did something. I always was there to thank them, and I always was there to help them along the way. And I think that's a big thing, is being able, first of all, to see what needs to be done. You have to have a vision. You have to have a vision of some kind to see what needs to be done.
Sure.
And then to put that vision in place, you have to have some kind of a format, and you're all working this. You may have some ideas, but you ask other people what their ideas are. You ask them what their input is, and you work together then to come to a decision. It may not be what their decision was, but it's what the best decision is. So I'm not quite sure how to answer that, except to say I think it was just in me, to do what I needed to do, but always to respect all the others in their role. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Absolutely.
But I just felt, I still feel that way. Right now, when you guys leave, I'll go down there and compliment somebody for something they did this morning, because they did something good this morning. You know, so that's sort of where I come from.
Well,
I'm not perfect by any means. I'm not trying to play up the role that I'm perfect. I'm just trying.
Well, Marie, thank you so much for your contributions to the community and everything that you've built here for Catholic Charities that serves the community. It's been a pleasure to speak with you on behalf of History of the Heartland.
Well, thank you. And I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge our administration office in Springfield and my executive director of this agency, Steve Roach, the big boss. He also gives us credit for what we do and allows us to do it. So rarely are you told that maybe you dipped into something you shouldn't have dipped into right now. You know, rarely. He lets us do what we need to do, and he supports us all the way.
That's very fine. Thank you.